We took her in because she had nowhere else to go. She was small, quiet, harmless, but the secret I uncovered about my husband's niece made my entire body go cold. I raised my husband's niece, then I found a locked secret that made me question if my whole marriage was a lie. I want you to picture this. It's late. The house is quiet. A child is asleep down the hallway. And I'm sitting at my kitchen table, holding an envelope. Not a love letter. Not a bill. Not a birthday card. A DNA result. The kind of paper that doesn't just reveal information, it rewrites memory. I can hear my husband breathing behind me. He's standing close. Too close. Like proximity can change reality. He whispers, "Whatever it says, we'll be okay." And in that moment, my stomach drops. Because people don't say that. Unless they already know. I turn the paper over. I read the line once. Then again. Then a third time. And it feels like the room tilts. Because the child asleep in my home? The one I was told was my husband's niece? She isn't just family. She's his. And suddenly every moment I ever lived in this marriage starts playing back like a different movie. Stay with me. Because the worst part isn't the truth. It's the time, the years, the way everyone held it, while I loved someone I didn't even understand. Before all of this, my marriage was calm, not flashy, not perfect, but safe. I married a man who felt steady. We were the couple who did quiet routines. We planned trips we never rushed. We took pictures we never posted. We talked about kids one day, not because we didn't want them, because we weren't in a hurry. His family, though? His family was a storm of love, big dinners. Too much food, loud laughter, and always, 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 his sister's little girl. She was the center of the room, a little comet, bright and wild and curious. Everyone called her a miracle. Everyone said his sister stepped up and adopted her as a baby, and I believed that story with my whole heart. Because why wouldn't I? I had no reason to suspect anything, not even a small itch of doubt, yet. Let me tell you what the first crack looked like. It wasn't obvious. It wasn't dramatic. It was a comment at a family dinner. The child was running around the table, refusing to sit. My husband smiled and said, joking, "She's stubborn. That's definitely from our side." I laughed. Everyone laughed. But his sister didn't. She didn't laugh. She stared at her plate like someone had just stepped on a landmine. It lasted 1 second. Maybe less. Then she smiled again and changed the subject. I didn't notice it properly at the time, but later. That moment returned like a ghost. Life kept moving. Until his sister got sick. At first it was small, feeling tired. "Can you take her this afternoon?" Then it became appointments. Then medications. Then a diagnosis that settled into the family like fog. A chronic illness. One that doesn't always look terrifying at first, but slowly changes what someone can do. Some days she was fine. Some days she couldn't get out of bed without pain. And then one evening she called and said, "I need to talk." My husband and I went over. She sat at her kitchen table, her hands shaking around a mug, and she asked us a question that sounded simple, but carried the weight of a child's entire life. "Can she stay with you for a while?" I looked at my husband. He said yes instantly. Too fast. No discussion. No let's think, just yes, like he'd practiced the word, and I said yes too. Because what else do you do when a mother looks like she's drowning? I told myself it was temporary. A few weeks, a month, maybe 2. I didn't know I just stepped into a story that had been written years ago, without my permission. A child moving in changes everything. The air changes, the noise changes, the meaning of silence changes. Suddenly my home had tiny shoes by the door, a toothbrush with cartoon characters, a backpack that smelled like crayons in school. And me? I became someone new. I packed lunches. I learned bedtime routines. I learned which songs helped her fall asleep. I learned which nightmares made her crawl into my bed at 3 a.m. And my husband? He was excellent. He knew her favorite snack. Not just cookies, the exact kind. He knew how to calm her down in 1 sentence. He knew her like she had always been his responsibility. And I thought, he's amazing. I didn't understand what that amazing was made of. Not yet. One night I woke up and heard a sound in the hallway. I walked out. My husband was standing outside her room. The door was cracked. He was staring at her sleeping face like he was memorizing it. Not an uncle's look. Not the "aw she's cute" look. Something heavier. Something guilty. He didn't hear me at first. When he turned and saw me, he smiled quickly. "Just checking on her," he said. And I believed him. Because I still didn't know what I was living inside. Weeks passed, then months. His sister didn't improve. Some days she sounded like herself. Other days she sounded like someone aging in fast forward. Then she asked again. Not temporary, permanent. She said, "I need her stable. I need her safe. I can't do this alone anymore." She asked if we would take her permanently. Permanent is a word that changes your bones. Permanent means the child isn't staying. Permanent means you're raising. My husband said yes again, quick again. And I felt something in my stomach tighten, but I ignored it, because the child had already become my daily life, because love had already started growing roots. So I said yes too. And the moment I agreed, I didn't realize I'd just signed a contract with a secret. This is important, because people think love is dramatic. It isn't. Love is tiny, it's cereal bowls, it's fever medicine, it's a child handing you a drawing like it's treasure. I became her safe place. She started reaching for me first. If she scraped her knee, she ran to me. If she had a nightmare, she called my name. And I didn't resist it. I leaned in, because it felt real, it felt like meaning. And my husband would watch those moments, sometimes smiling, sometimes quiet, sometimes too quiet. One afternoon I got a text from his sister, just 5 words. Can you come by alone? Alone, not you two, not bring him, just me. My stomach dropped, because alone means something is about to change. I drove there while the child was at school. Her apartment was dim, curtains half closed. She looked tired in a way that wasn't just physical, it was secret tired. She kept saying, I need to be honest. I'm not trying to hurt you, and when someone says that, they're about to hurt you. She didn't say it right away, she circled it, like she wanted the truth to soften itself. But truth doesn't soften, it lands. She told me there was a night before my wedding, alcohol, bad decisions, a friend, a mistake that became a lifetime. Then she said it quietly, he's her father. My brain rejected the sentence. I stared, waiting for the meaning to change. She repeated it slower, your husband is her father. Everything in me went cold. I couldn't breathe. I remember whispering, no, not because I was arguing, because my body couldn't accept it. She cried. And I realized, she wasn't confused. She was confessing. I drove home in silence, no music, no calls, just my hands gripping the steering wheel like the road could hold me together. My husband was in the kitchen. He looked up and smiled like nothing was wrong, and that smile, it made something inside me crack. I asked calmly, is she your daughter? He paused for the smallest fraction of a second, then denied it. No, what? Of course not. He tried to laugh. A nervous laugh, and the denial didn't comfort me. It lit a fire, because now the betrayal wasn't just a past secret. It was a present lie, right to my face. He told me his sister was sick, confused, stressed. He said, why would you believe that? And that sentence made me feel crazy. Like I was the problem for asking. So I said, I want a DNA test. His face changed, not anger first, fear, then anger, then fear again. He tried to act offended, but he couldn't keep the performance steady, because fear kept leaking through. And I knew, before the results, I knew, waiting for results is its own punishment. Days feel long on purpose. Normal moments turn strange. The child would laugh at a cartoon and my chest would ache with confusion, because she hadn't changed. But the story around her had. My husband became sweeter, too sweet, helping more, complimenting me, touching my shoulder in the kitchen like we were still normal, and I kept thinking, is this love, or is this panic? The results came in a plain envelope. I held it for a long time without opening it, because once you open it you can't close your mind again. My husband stood behind me and whispered, whatever it says, we'll be okay. I opened it, read it, and my knees went weak. He was the biological father. I sat down hard, and my husband didn't look surprised. He looked caught, like someone finally turned on the lights. He talked fast. Before the wedding, a mistake. He loved me. He was scared. His sister agreed to raise her. They thought it would never come out. Then he said the sentence that made my skin crawl. But you already love her. So what changes? What changes? I stared at him. Because he didn't understand. He thought the only damage was the act. He didn't understand the years of silence, the consent he stole, the choices he took away. That night I tucked her in. She asked for 2 stories. I read them. My voice sounded normal, but inside I felt split. When she fell asleep, I stood in the hallway staring at her door. And I thought, if I stay, I might spend years trying not to flinch, trying not to let resentment leak, trying to love freely while carrying a wound that never stops aching. And she doesn't deserve love that feels like a performance. But if I leave, they'll say I abandoned her. They'll paint me as the bad guy. There was no painless choice. Only different kinds of pain. The next morning I packed a bag. Not everything, just enough. My husband begged, don't do this, we can fix this. Like you can tape trust back together. I left, drove to my sister's house, cried so hard my hands shook, and I remember thinking, if I stay one more day I'll disappear inside myself. The messages started immediately. His mom, please call, then, you can't leave, then, she's just a child, then they used the child like a weapon. She misses you, she keeps asking, you're hurting her, and in every message was the same unspoken demand, swallow your pain, be convenient, be quiet. His dad called and said, you're family, you don't get to walk away. I stared at my phone thinking, so I'm trapped? That's what marriage means to you, a cage? My husband texted. Don't punish her. That line froze me. because he framed my pain like punishment, like I was cruel for reacting. He said, "You're the only one who can make this normal." Normal. That word felt like a slap. Normal doesn't grow in a garden of lies. I went on Reddit, posted my story. I needed context. I needed validation. One side said, "Leave the liar. Love the child from a distance if you can." Another responded, "Staying might be the kindest thing." Then someone wrote, "The family is manipulating you." And another commented, "If they hid it once, what else will they hide?" And a brutal comment landed like a hammer, "They didn't tell you because they didn't respect you enough to let you choose." That thought haunted me, because it felt true. Then my phone rang. The child, her little voice said, "Are you mad at me?" That sentence nearly ended me. Because how do you explain adult betrayal to a child? I swallowed and said softly, "No, never you." She asked, "Then why aren't you home?" And my chest cracked. I said, "I'm figuring things out," she whispered. "I miss you." And I sat there staring at the wall after the call ended, because love and pain can exist at the same time. And it's unbearable. My husband offered therapy, counseling, family sessions. He said he'd do anything. Then he slipped in the real ask. "You could adopt her." Adopt. Like the solution was me making the secret permanent on paper. I pictured myself years from now, at a school event, smiling, while that old wound throbs under my ribs. And I wondered, would I be loving or performing? Because kids can tell. They always can. When I hesitated, he got sharp. "So you're abandoning her?" There it was, the story they wanted, the villain they needed. I said, "I'm protecting myself." He replied, "From what? From a kid?" And I realized something terrifying. He truly didn't understand the harm, and if someone doesn't understand harm, they repeat it. I started asking the question that turns your stomach. Who else knew? His parents, his siblings, family, friends? Had I been the only person at dinners who didn't know? Were they all watching me play auntie, while they held the truth behind their teeth? That thought was worse than betrayal by one person, because betrayal by a group makes you feel like your life was a stage. And you were the only actor without the script. His mom asked to meet, in person. Cafes are dangerous for conversations like this. You can't scream, you have to smile. She took my hands and said, "You have to think about the child, not, I'm sorry, not, my son lied, straight to obligation." Then she lowered her voice and said, "If you leave, people will talk." There it was. Control, image, fear, not love. I stood up and walked out. Back to the Reddit thread, someone wrote, "They're not asking you to heal, they're asking you to absorb consequences." Another added, "They're using the child to keep you trapped." Then the counter comment, "But the child loves her. Isn't love worth fighting for?" And then the comment that ended all debates. You can't rebuild trust with someone who hid a life-changing truth for years. And you'd keep reading. Because nobody wants to imagine themselves in this. But everybody secretly does. The child sent me a drawing, our house, me holding her hand, my husband on the other side, a giant sun, the word, family. I stared at it until my eyes blurred. Because she believed in something pure, something adults had poisoned, and whatever I chose, she would feel it. I went back once, just once, to get a few things. The child ran to me like nothing happened, hugged my waist and said, "You came back." For a second my heart begged me to stay, to pretend, to be the person she thought I was. Then I looked up. My husband stood in the doorway, watching, hopeful, relieved, like he thought that hug was a verdict, like he thought it meant, she's staying. And I realized, if I stayed, everyone would use that hug like a chain, not love, leverage. So I hugged her, whispered, "I love you so much." Then I stood up and walked out again. Reddit reactions kept pouring in. One person stated, "You can love the child and still leave the liar." Another commented, "The family is pressuring her because they don't want consequences." A different perspective came saying staying out of guilt creates resentment, and kids feel that. One even added, "A secret child isn't just a mistake, it's years of deception." And the comments kept flowing. Therapy doesn't erase lost consent, and she's not wrong for leaving. She's human. And then the comment that hits hardest. They let her bond with the child without telling her the truth. That's the cruelty. OP is not the bad guy for wanting distance after discovering a life-changing truth was withheld for years. The child is innocent, always. But guilt cannot be the foundation of a healthy family. Staying without true emotional readiness can create quiet resentment, emotional inconsistency, and tension that a child will absorb, often without anyone noticing until it's too late. OP deserved the right to make an informed choice about the life they were building. That right was taken away. Walking away is not automatically cold. Sometimes it's the most honest step to prevent deeper harm for everyone involved. What would you have done? Now imagine this clearly. You take in a child because you believe you're helping family. You become their safe place. You build trust, routines, love. Then you learn that child is living proof of a secret betrayal your spouse hid for years, while you bonded without knowing the truth. Do you stay and rebuild a marriage that began with hidden reality? Do you keep loving the child while swallowing your heartbreak? Or do you walk away before resentment changes who you are, even if people call you the bad guy? Drop your answer below. And if this slow burn, jaw-dropping, twist-by-twist story kept pulling you forward, like, comment, subscribe. Because on Genie's Daily Digest, we don't just tell stories. You feel every turn before you decide.